Hi there, gang, and welcome to the OurStressFreeWedding.com podcast, also UltimateEntertainment.cc as well. And we talked about this last time. We need to get rid of the podcast title.
I think so.
I think we're gonna rebrand to Our Stress Free TV.
I like it.
You like that?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a new direction.
What if they watch on a computer screen, though?
OurStressFreeWedding.com. Let's just stick with that.
All right, that works.
So if you are just joining us, if this is the first time that you've ever jumped in to watch, thank you, by the way. We certainly appreciate that. This is episode 8, and this is going to be awesome. We are going to be talking with Katie from Mojo Productions, and I can't wait to get into that. And one of the main reasons I'm really excited about is actually one of the main reasons why the whole platform exists. This is actually kind of cool. So Mojo Productions is a fantastic DJ service out of Britt, Iowa, and to kind of tie it all together, my background is I've had 34 years working in the wedding business as a DJ. And one of the reasons why I created OurStressFreeWedding.com was because it always kind of circled back as the DJ, is that it's our job to play nice with all of the other vendors at somebody's day. You know, it's our job to work with the photographer, with the venue, with the caterer, and of course with our couple to make sure that everything goes their way and to make sure everything goes the way that it's supposed to be for somebody's big day. And what I wanted to do was create a place that not only had other DJs of that same kind of mindset, but also find other vendors from all across the state of Iowa that have that same kind of approach, that treat not only the couple's day like it's their most important day, but also all of the other vendors involved. And that really kind of comes together in making someone's day absolutely perfect from start to finish. You know,
the day just goes so much smoother when everyone's on the same page.
Absolutely. And it's the vendors, you know, and we've talked about this in past shows. So if this is your first show, go back because, you're missing so much. Sometimes I wear a different shirt. Sometimes Andrew has a different sweatshirt on. So you're missing a lot of really important stuff here. But one of the main things that has been a theme through every show and will continue to be for every show is that you're experts. If you are looking right now, and we've got all the tags on YouTube for all the different things to, for this to pop up, in searches, because you're looking for advice. You're looking for wedding experts, and there is advice all over the interweb about planning a wedding, right? And most of those blogs, most of that advice is coming from quote unquote experts from the coasts, from New York, from LA, Chicago, Chicago's not really on the coast. They think they are. But, from all of these big markets. And if you are planning a wedding in Ardale, Iowa, for example, Ardale, Iowa has a population of 72 people. Okay, if you are planning a wedding in Ardale, Iowa, I've been there. It's a beautiful town, by the way. Great little bar called The Outpost. You should go there. But you don't care about 100,000 vendors from coast to coasts. You don't care about what the opinions are, or you shouldn't care what the opinions are about what all of those experts are that are telling you about hundreds of thousands of vendors from coast to coast. You want to find 15, and you want to pare that 15 down to about 7, and you want to find local professionals that are going to treat your day the way that your day demands to be treated. Every bride, I don't care who you are, I don't care if this is your second or third or fourth time around, every bride wants to have the kind of wedding that 10 years from the day they get married, 15 years, 20 years, it doesn't matter. 10 years from the day you get married, your guests that are at your wedding right now, they are at a different wedding 10 years in the future. And they think, hey, this one's fun, but do you remember? And they talk about your wedding. That's the kind of reception. I mean, you just did this weekend. I mean, you just did a wedding reception this weekend.
Absolutely, that and the week before. I think it was the first wedding of the season that I did for me. I talked to the bride and groom about it, and they said, they kind of shopped around with DJs, and they said a few DJs tried telling them, no, you don't want to play this kind of music at your wedding. You need to stick with the classics, this and that. And it wasn't until later in the night I found out that they were fans of like pop punk, like My Chemical Romance and Good Charlotte and Fall Out Boy and things like that.
This is stuff that you coincidentally happen to be stuff that you love to listen to.
That's my
bag.
That
worked out well, yeah.
and I think those other DJs or those other experts that said, no, you need to stay away from that because no one's going to enjoy that. That kind of made them a little gun shy from asking, hey, can you sneak in this song or,
Well, they're prejudging the crowd.
Yeah.
At every wedding, and this is something that has always fascinated me, and I think I've mentioned this before, every wedding has 6 groups of people. There is our bride's family. There is our groom's family. There is our bride's friends. There is our groom's friends. The 5th group is the friends that the 2 of you have gained since you've been a couple. And then the 6th group, that's a wild card. That's your parents' friends. You probably don't know any of those people of that 6th group, but they all show up with gifts. So it's nice to have them there, right? Of those 6 groups of people, you've got everything from toddlers to senior citizens. Of those 6 groups of people, you've got everything, I don't know, give the spectrum, from bikers to doctors, right? Now, you've got everybody in between, and all of those people have different tastes of music. Everybody wants a little bit of everything. And to kind of circle back to, you want the kind of wedding that people are talking about your reception years in the future. It's the DJ's job to not only take the information that you give us, and we can build from that, but also read the room and not just the dance floor. And that's another trap that a lot of DJs fall into, is that they focus on the dance floor. And what I mean by that is, let's say there's 300 guests at a wedding and the DJ is playing club music, hip hop music, and there's 100 people dancing. I don't care what venue you are in the state of Iowa, 100 people on a dance floor is a lot of people dancing. That is a full dance floor. And the DJ is going to think, ooh, I'm killing it. So they keep playing that one style of music. And those 100 people, they have a blast. The mistake that DJ has made is that there are 200 other guests wondering when they're going to play country, 90s, the punk pop stuff, anything other than hip hop.
Yeah.
So what your DJ is going to be doing throughout the night is reading everything that's going on. And on top of that, to kind of get back to what my point was at the top, the DJ's job is to coordinate with all of the other experts there. We're going to coordinate with the venue. We're going to coordinate with the photographer. We're going to coordinate with the caterer, videographer, even the party bus. Everybody is going to be kind of put together, so the bride and for our couples, so you guys don't have to worry about that. That's our job. And part of what our stress-free wedding does is it brings all of those vendors that have that kind of similar mindset to approaching somebody's big day, that they're going to be working with one another, all with the same goal as to making your day amazing. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. So if this is the first time you found us, you happen to find us on YouTube, great. Certainly appreciate it. What should they do if they find us on YouTube?
Like and subscribe.
You should totally like and subscribe. There's a little button. I got to remember what side. There's a little button. Just click it. Like and subscribe. You will learn fascinating things like this. Trust me. The other neat thing is that you can find us on both platforms. If you go to ourstressfreewedding.com, click on the podcast, not only can you see this one that you're watching right now, but you can also see all of the shows that we've had so far. And if you go to ultimateentertainment.cc, you can see all of the shows we've got there as well. And you can find an entire page dedicated to Our Stress Free Wedding 2, so you can learn more about the whole platform and learn really everything that's going on. Everything on the platform, all of the planning tools, all of the resources, your ability to reach out to any of the vendors on the platform. It's all free to you. There is no charge. We're not going to hit you with a bunch of ads. We're not going to sell your information. We're not going to put you on mailing lists. You might get a couple emails from us, from Our Stress Free Wedding, saying, hey, take a look at this. But we're not going to, you're not going to get a bunch of pop-ups and crap like that. We are here solely to make your day as absolutely stress-free and amazing as we possibly can. That is 100% our goal. Right? It's as simple as that. And speaking of making things stress-free and amazing, I would like to welcome Katie from Mojo Productions.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am very good. I kind of, on the way down here, I thought to myself, I'm kind of like a celebrity, right?
You're our guest star. Yes. We got you a Coke.
I know, thank you.
VIP treatment.
They're very accommodating here. And not to play off of the stress-free wedding, honestly, in every single conversation that I have with every single couple that we work with, I say this exact phrase. We know that weddings are stressful, but we will do everything in our power to make your day stress-free.
Exactly.
So it's like we were built in.
And we get 25 cents every time she says that.
We should get her on this platform that we're building.
I think I should probably go back and watch the other podcasts that you've done.
But you're so right.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's one of the things that it's crazy, because from all of us in the business, for us, it's it's a normal thing. It's Saturday. We're planning a wedding. We
Right.
we can go down the checklist. We know what to expect. We know what's coming. We know what's going to happen at pretty much every wedding with maybe a 10% variable,
Right.
But that couple that reaches out to you for the first time, they're starting at zero. They don't know where to look, and that kind of goes back to like what I was saying about like some of the national planning platforms where hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of vendors from all across the country. That instantly can be incredibly overwhelming.
Right.
And so by bringing things on a much more local basis, I think makes it even that much better. And then for you as one of the founding vendors on Our Stress Free, I mean, that's why you're on the platform, is because you have that same mindset. So let's talk a little bit about that, and kind of build on that.
Well, I know, well, like what you said, most couples, this is their first time doing any of this, and I can typically tell when I have someone that I get on the phone that is very new at this. They just started. They don't know what to do.
Right.
And I tell a lot of our couples, I'm like, whether you asked for it or not, you have officially become a giant event planner. I mean, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've thought about reaching out to some of these companies that sell rings and being like, hey, do you want to hand these couples that you're handing rings to a guide on who to call first and when to, because it's like, I know there's wedding planning stuff out there and books you can buy and planners, but it's like, you almost need someone to guide you in the correct direction. And a lot of, like in our area, Northern Iowa, actual wedding planners, they're not super popular.
There's not a lot of wedding planners in Iowa. Let me change that. There's not a lot of really good wedding planners in Iowa. There's you get Aunt Betty. Oh, I've planned weddings. Oh, okay, that's a great idea. But and we've got some wedding planners on the platform that are absolutely fantastic. And they are fully certified, and they've taken classes, and they've gone through all the training, and they know how to kind of connect all of us together and all those vendors together, so there's nothing that the bride needs to worry about. But when you have someone that comes in who maybe doesn't have the budget for a wedding planner, and just to kind of feed back to you as the expert, you're the professional. So when you're talking to that couple that is starting at zero, they don't know where to look, and that's incredibly overwhelming. I mean, we all get that feeling every time we talk to a bride, and and I've talked to enough of them. They start right out with, "I have no idea what to even ask you guys."
Correct.
All right, so let's start with that. So if I call you up and I'm like, "I don't even know what to ask you," what do you tell me?
Well, first of all, I tell you, I promise you're not the only one.
There you go.
It's more common that people call us that have no idea what they're doing than it is people who are like, I know I want this, I know I want this, and I know I want this. That population is very minimal. And I'm sure you guys probably feel the same way. As the DJ side of things, we are almost interchangeable to become the coordinator that night.
Oh, I think we are, 100%.
Because we're there from the beginning of the night to the end of the night. So, and whether or not we're at the ceremony or not, just depends on what the couple wants, if they're at a church, or if they're outside in a field. It's super easy for us to throw ourselves into the position of, I'm going to work with the photographer during the ceremony. I'm going to work with the caterer. I'm going to work with the videographer. I mean, just the venue, making sure that, everyone sat down when they need to. There's a lot of times where we jump in and we dismiss tables because it wasn't something that was thought about. And honestly, like when I talk to couples as we're getting closer to their day, that's one of my questions I ask is, do you have a host and hostess? And they're like, oh, didn't think about that.
Right.
And I always tell them, that's okay. We're happy to jump in. We're happy to help, because otherwise we're just, what are we really doing during that time frame?
Right.
A lot of times, I personally, during that time frame, I am scanning the crowd. I am making sure, like, did the photographer eat already? Are they going to be done by the time speeches are ready to roll, or cake cutting and things like that? So in the back of our mind, we're doing all these planning things, whether there's a coordinator or not.
Right.
But yeah, when I first start talking to a bride on the phone, I get a little lost in the conversation. I'm just going to throw this out here, and I tell a lot of our brides, and if any of our brides are watching, you can attest to this. I go into pretty grave detail about the things that we do and almost kind of like walk you through what to expect on your day, whether you have it fully planned or not.
Well, and I think that's immensely helpful, though, because they don't know. Right. They've got an idea in their mind, and you'll talk to, so like some of the brides will say, let's say they're going to have their ceremony and reception both in the same place, which is kind of a trend that has been building in the past couple years. And so they'll think, all right, well, I want my ceremony at 1, reception's going to start at 6. And they've got but they've got these big ideas, and what they don't realize is because they're thinking ceremonies at 1, then we're gonna do pictures, and then we're gonna do a party bus, and we're gonna do all this, and then we'll be back at 6, which is all well and good, but what you got to remember is, well, your guests are there at 1, and they're going to, if you're expecting them to be there till 11, or midnight, I mean, that's a 10 or an 11-hour day that you're asking your guests to be there for. So, maybe let's tighten that window up a little bit, but having you give them that advice when you just say it, and it really seems simple when you say it out loud, but hearing that from you as the expert really is what makes a difference in helping them be less stressed out about planning everything.
Right. And there's a few venues that we work with, ballroom type venues, that per their venue, they allow us to do a 4-hour dance. When I know that a couple is working with this particular venue, I tend to start off with, what time do you want your reception to end? And build your timeline backwards, because if you, if you get married at 1 p.m. and you're going to start, cocktail hour at 5, they allow 4 hours from when the first dance starts. So what time are you wanting that to be over?
Ooh, got it.
So I think that is really helpful. I guess the fact that we travel all over the place and we've been to a lot of different venues gives us kind of a good advantage on that. And I'm sure the same is with you guys. I mean, that's kind of the cool part about being a DJ, is you get to go into all these different venues and you get to learn a lot of different things of, hey, this is how they like to do things. This is that we're familiar with working with this venue so often that we already know what to expect from this venue, so we can pass it along to our future couples. Hey, this is what they like to do. They provide a trolley. Have you guys talked to them about trolley times? It's just, there's so much information that you can get into right off the bat with a couple on the phone. And I always tell them, I'm like, be prepared, because I'm about to overwhelm you with information. So if you want to take notes, by all means, if you have questions when I'm done talking. But I think the biggest compliment that I take away from any phone call that I have with a couple is, I just talked to a groom on Friday, and he's having a hard time finding a DJ.
Right.
And he's looking at, not quite sure where he wants to have the ceremony. They know where they want the reception. But I walked through all of the information that I talked to all of our couples with, and I said, I know I go through a lot of information, but what questions do you have for me, or things that you had in the back of your head that you wanted to cover? And his only response was, you answered more questions than I even knew I had.
Right. And that's normal. And that's awesome. And one of the things, what's really cool is what you just explained, talking about, like timelines and the venue and all of those details. You haven't even touched what Mojo Productions does.
Right.
You haven't even gotten into, here's what our packages are. What you're helping this couple out with advice that they can use whether or not they hire you.
Right.
And that's one of the qualities that we look for at Our Stress Free, is whether or not they hire you, you want them to have an amazing day. And it's the same thing I tell couples all the time. I'm like, hey, whether or not you hire me, here's some of the things that you should think about, in planning your day. So let's talk a little bit about, they like what you hear so far, and so now they want to learn more about Mojo Productions. So start with the simple. How long you guys been around?
We have been around since 1999.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Not me personally, I haven't been in the business since 1999, but Jared founded Mojo Productions, and one of our longest running DJs, Wyatt Haas, he I should bring him down here sometime. He would love doing this. But
One of these days we are going to have a giant DJ forum, and we're just going to see who can out-talk the other. Oh, it'll go on for days.
Yeah, I was gonna say, make sure you pop some popcorn. Maybe order in a couple days worth of takeout.
That'll be the day that we actually bring adult beverages back, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we were founded in 1999. Jared starting the business kind of went in between what was popular at the time, bands versus DJ, kind of back and forth a little bit here and there. I'm trying to think the actual year that really just focused on Mojo Productions. Jared would have the better answer for that one. I personally didn't get 100% involved in the business until 2008. So a lot of time in between, then and now. But
and how many systems do you guys run? How many receptions can you do like on a weekend?
I get that question a lot, and I probably always answer the same. Well, on any given Saturday, we can do 14 weddings.
Awesome.
Yes.
So, and that makes a difference too, because one of the things that I talk to couples a lot about is the difference between a full-time and a part-time DJ.
Correct.
A full-time DJ service is dedicated solely, because our income relies on it. We're dedicated solely on making sure your questions get answered and answered in a timely manner.
Right.
Getting everything in place and getting everything ready to go. Whereas a part-time DJ, you've got a lot of risk. You will probably get a much better price. They'll probably be cheaper. But there's been times like when we send a contract out, like for Ultimate Entertainment, we give them 2 weeks where we're going to guarantee hold their date for 2 weeks. No one else can come in and steal it away. We've got a X number as well. We're about the same size as you guys are.
Right.
And so, we will hold that date guaranteed for 2 weeks because we're pretty confident that they're probably going to book with us. And if I don't hear back from them in that 2 week period, I'll call them up and I'll, hey, just double checking, seeing where you are. And there's been so many times where I've gotten, the response back from the bride is, well, we're just waiting to hear back from a couple other DJs, and then we'll get back to you. And my follow-up question is always, okay, did you reach out to them the same time you did us? And most times it's, well, yeah, Tuesday was DJ day 2 weeks ago. And so my question from there is, has it taken them 2 weeks to get back to you?
Right.
And usually with part-time DJs, that's what you get, because you are not, the couple is not their full-time priority. They've got a full-time job, and nothing against them, but I have met very few brides that are happy to wait. When you get to 2 months before the big day or the week of the reception, are they cool waiting 5 days for an answer to a question?
Not usually.
Not usually. No. So that makes a giant difference. And the other thing is really a safety factor, because I'm willing to bet, being able to do 14 weddings on a Saturday, you probably don't have just 14 DJs.
No.
There's always more.
We also do have backup DJs that we make sure we say, hey, will you devote us
kind of an
your
on-call
summer? Yeah, we have on-call DJs. So I did have, this would be an extreme situation, but I do have, in our contract it says, if something happens, we will find you a suitable replacement, because that is something that comes up. We're humans. Things happen. I had one bride who really wanted me, and I met up with her. We had lunch. We hadn't even booked the wedding yet. And she said, well, what's this part mean in the contract? And I said, well, if I die, we will find someone.
If I wake up sick, that didn't cross you. You went right to if I die.
If I die, we will find you a suitable replacement. And she said, okay.
Well, that's fair.
Yes.
I think I told you that one time too. I was like, I'm flying home, but just in case that plane crashes, have someone on call.
If I die.
Sorry in advance.
Yes. It's probably extreme, but at the same time,
But
bride
that's a good example. Yeah.
She was very comfortable with that answer. So,
and this is something that I think is incredibly cool about Mojo Productions as a whole. So we, as in like you and I and Jared and I, really have just formally met this year. We've crossed paths a million times over the years. There's been so many times that I've gotten an email from Jared or even a phone call at the office. Hey, can you do a wedding, X date down the road?
Right.
Because you guys aren't able to cover, you're booked or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the really, really cool things about Mojo Productions, and I don't know, full credit to Jared, or maybe you're the one that actually got him to do this right or what it is, but what you guys do in networking
Oh, yeah.
with other DJs, just DJs in the industry, I think is fantastic.
Well, I will say, Jared, it was 100% him.
See?
I give full credit to Jared on that. He grew up in business. His grandpa had a concrete business, so he watched his grandpa work with other people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
His business etiquette is phenomenal. It's kind of in our world. I don't really look as, other companies as competition.
Thank you.
It's more, we're all working, and you said that before too,
Mm-hmm.
and we've said that when we talk to couples, like, we're up in Britt, they might be located in Iowa City,
Sure.
and
Pella,
sometimes
on the
I
other
will,
side of the state for you.
right, and I can honestly tell them straight up, I will be straightforward with you. I know, without a doubt, we are going to be more expensive than someone more local to you.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is not to bribe them into DJ or
Right.
booking us for their DJ. The
Right.
goal is to make sure that they have good entertainment at their wedding, and that is the bottom line.
So much.
So it's nice that we are able to network and connect with other companies, because then we work alongside them, not against them, because there's plenty of weddings out there.
See, that has been my point for
Right.
a million years.
You are that old.
I remember back when me and Noah were doing this before the flood. But it wouldn't matter if you guys were big enough to do 100 weddings a weekend.
Right.
There is 101 weddings going on that particular weekend. There is way more weddings happening than you are ever going to be able to book yourself.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with Ultimate Entertainment. There's even in our local area, Waterloo, Cedar Falls area, there is way more weddings going on in a 30-mile radius than we can cover. We can do ours, which is great, but there is more. And I've always had the exact same philosophy. I don't
Right.
believe in competition between DJs. Now, you can have kind of a healthy competition if you want to get
Right.
into personalities, or get into kind of, we're DJs, we've all got egos. It's
That equipment I saw in the back room.
yeah, right. We got cool stuff. She's back there taking pictures. Look what Ultimate Entertainment has.
She's a spy.
Yeah, I'm really down here just to scope out the situation is why I'm down here.
Camera on her glasses, click.
Right, yeah. I have an itch.
But it's 100% right that there's a lot of really talented DJs out there.
For sure.
There's a lot of really great photographers out there. There's so many talented people in this state that work in the wedding business, and it's more business than we would ever be able to do, or more business than even if we combined. So now we're able
Right.
to do 28 weddings a weekend. I
Right.
guarantee you, between here and Britt, which is what, like, how far did you drive to come in?
Well, I
Miss
actually came
Celebrity?
from Mason today.
Okay.
I was doing some stuff in Mason and then headed down this way. So it was only a little over an hour for me. Otherwise, I'd have to Google it.
Right, it's a couple hours
Google
between
Maps,
here and
yeah.
Britt.
Yeah.
So even between that, a 120-mile area, even if we coordinated our schedules together, there is more weddings in that area, in between us and you, than we could all cover.
Right.
And so, and that goes back to the ourstressfreewedding.com platform as a whole, is finding the vendors, finding the professionals. I really need to stop using the word vendor, because there's not a single bride out there that knows vendor. Like, you about a pop machine?
Vendor?
No,
Oh, yeah.
wedding professional. But there is so many amazing wedding professionals out there, and one of the things that we do at ourstressfreewedding.com is that I think is more than what any other search platform offers, is we dig into every vendor that's on the site. We get to know them. We create
Right.
this kind of relationship. And then, even before we create the relationship, we do research. We look at past reviews. We look at their social media. We look at their website. We dig into reviews on all the different kinds of platforms because there's so many different places to put reviews. So we know before we even reach out to you
Right.
that you're someone that we want to talk to. And it's really more of a, we're inviting you in. It's not like we're holding up a sign that says, come join us, because we don't want everybody to
Right.
come join us. We want people that have that kind of mindset that you've just described over the past few minutes. It's making that couple's day amazing, whether or not they hire you.
Exactly. And I tell couples, it's typically, I've had a few couples obviously in our area that we got to call Mojo. You got to call Mojo, like we're a household name or something.
Sure.
Which, I mean, maybe we are.
Well, name recognition is huge, but that's because of reputation.
Right. And I tell, that's one thing that I tell all of our guys every year. We're really blessed with the guys that we have that work with us. I don't say work for us. I say work with us because we're like a big family. Really, really weird family.
Same thing.
Oh yeah.
Same thing. Yep.
All DJs are weird, by the way.
We prefer the term unique.
Right, yeah, I'm sorry. Unique. We're all very unique. But I tell them, when you're out doing a wedding, you're on audition for something else.
Yeah.
Because Grandma Betty could be planning her 60th wedding anniversary party.
Every wedding is filled with potential clients.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Everyone.
So I
Someone's
mean,
always watching. Yeah.
yeah. And it's not just pay attention to your mannerisms or, make sure that you have a smile on your face throughout the
Right.
entire night. That's not even it. It's do your thing because it's just what we do.
Right.
But don't forget that there's people that are probably watching to see if, God, maybe I'd like to talk to them about my day before I take off tonight.
Right.
So I think that that's also huge too. And it's kind of cool, like Wyatt is actually one of our grooms. Obviously, he has been with Mojo well before we did his wedding, but we were able to do his wedding, which was fun. Cody that works with us, he was actually our groom, used to DJ, and then after his wedding, he called Jared and he's like, man, I really want to get back into this. And now he DJs.
Yes.
And it's just, I mean, the group that we have took a long time to find these guys, but
Oh, I know.
we're blessed to have the guys that we do. And we as the owners, try to take very good care of all of our guys, and that is also something that I think goes a long way. When you have a full-time company and you take good care of your employees, they're going to do an amazing job for you
100%.
out on the road.
I think it's amazing, like talking to some of the gang at UE, and we're the same way. It's just a big goofy family.
Right.
We've got the Facebook. My gosh, I mean, it's just the Facebook chat, which was originally intended for tech support and
Correct.
help. No,
It is a free for all.
ridiculousness.
It can go south pretty quick.
It's a blast, but it's family. It's finding that. But and I'll tell you what, I mean, from especially as a multi-operational system, one of probably the hardest thing to do is hire people.
Right.
Is to find that right personality, because it's you'll find people that they may be great partiers, and they're the
Right.
life of the party at the wedding, but they forget that they're actually working at that wedding. You
Right.
know?
Yeah. That's funny that you bring that up, because we have over the years had many people that come up. I want to be a DJ.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
Do you? That's why I say that.
Do you?
Oh, do you?
So now Jared has met some people before, and hey, I want to be a roadie. I want to do this. Okay, cool. Go with Jared a couple weeks. Okay, well, you passed the test with Jared. Now you have to go with Katie. And if you make it past Katie, then we'll see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
My standards are probably a little excessive, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, are you going to represent me?
Mm-hmm.
And are you going to do a good job? So I think that that's also kind of the nice part of really being involved with the business side of things is I mean, I'm probably the bad cop of Mojo Productions, but you know, it's like,
So glad Katie came. Yeah,
all right, you got the wrong.
we didn't get the
person
nice
down here.
guy. No. But no, it's true though, because that level of excellence it needs to be maintained.
Right.
You get one opportunity at every wedding. You know, yep, you only work Saturdays, okay. But that Saturday, it's not like you can say, oh, we'll just do it again tomorrow. No, you don't get that.
Right.
So it has to be right. So we're the same way when it comes to training. We've got, multiple levels of, senior staff that they go through, and I'm part of that. And to make sure that each one, and I tell people when we hire them, like, you know what, here's the deal. You might think you're killing it. You might think you are, you're a level 10 and you are out of the park. But, the senior guys, the guys with experience, or myself might think you're
Right.
really nice personality and boy, you got a lot of excitement, but we're going to shake hands and part as friends. Sorry,
Right.
just not where we want it to be, because it's important, and especially as a multi-operational system, and as you being one of the owners, and it's the same thing, from my side. Like when I talk to brides, I immediately get, can you do my wedding?
Yes.
Well, you're talking with me, you're bonding with me. It's an automatic thing, and I can promise you that any DJ on the staff is going to treat you the same way that I'm treating you on the phone right now. And by having that consistency makes a giant difference.
Right.
And I think that's very, very important, especially when you're, building your staff and training people.
It's kind of funny because usually when I talk to begin with, I talk to probably 95% of our couples that we book with. And a lot of times I find myself saying, I wish I could be the DJ at your wedding because I have made that connection. And I'm like, I promise you and I are still going to interact throughout the entire planning process. My hands are involved with every single event that goes through Mojo Productions. So at some point in time, I'm going to talk to every single person that we have as clients.
So let's talk about some of the fun stuff too. I know, some of the new toys that have come out in the past couple of years. Like I noticed, on our slideshow that's running here, you can see like the cold fire system, and
Oh, yes.
some of the new things that are out there. So what are some of the options that couples can add, or do you have like a set package? Do you do it by time? Do you do it? How do you frame everything when someone is looking to book you?
So I start off with, the typical, are you looking for needing a DJ for your ceremony as well as reception, or just for the reception? So once I get a good feel for that, then I kind of go into, okay, what is your venue? As long as they've got that locked in. Like on our side of things, we don't actually book with a couple unless they have their venue locked in, just because in case a date changes, we don't want them to have to worry about, now I have to get a hold of 14 vendors, you know? But we do offer the cold spark machines. I'm not going to lie. Jared was at a convention, which I thought was made up. Like, oh yeah, DJs are having a convention, or it's just, hey, check out these cool new toys that are out. Well, he got these cold spark machines.
They are. It's a convention.
Right. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, they're awesome. Yep.
Well, apparently I need to go to one of these conventions. So, at first I was like, when are we going to use these things? I mean, yeah, they're cool. He got one set. And what we started to do, because weddings are expensive no matter how you slice it.
Right.
Whether it be the DJ is the most expensive, the photographer is the most expensive, the venue's the most expensive. There is something that is expensive, if not all of it.
Right.
I mean, it all adds up. But I was like, how are we going to, I mean, with this new product, I almost felt like, are we talking people into using these things?
Right.
We need to get them out on the road so people can see them. Jared, sometimes what I think at the time are crazy ideas work every time. So I don't even question the ideas that he comes up with, because they always work. He actually just started taking them as a gift to the couple. We got pictures, posted them on our Facebook, and then everyone's like, I want these cold sparks. And now I have a lot of people. They're like, what are these cold sparks? And I'm like, a lot of times for us, we'll use them for the grand introduction or for first dances, photo opportunity with, the photographer, sparkler send off.
And if you don't know what the cold spark system is, they're really neat. One of the best things about them, I like to refer to them as drunken bridesmaid safe.
Yeah.
Because they shoot up. It looks like you've got these big sparklers going off. It looks like it's like flames shooting up. You can don't, but you can put
You
your
can
hand
put your
in
hand
there.
right on the top.
And you're not gonna, you're not gonna hurt anything, and so
Right.
it's good for the venue because you're
Mhm.
not putting any kind of heat in the venue. You're not shooting any kind of heat into the air where you're gonna
Right.
potentially hurt any of your guests. I mean, it is really the cold spark system. Yeah,
It
that-
might
it's-
might scare the bejesus out of whoever's sitting next
Oh,
to
it'll wake them up. Yeah.
People do seem to really like the cold sparks, so it's definitely an option along with other options that we have. Uplighting.
I love your uplighting. I was looking at some of the stuff that you have online. So tell me about that because you use it's a little bit bigger uplighting system than what kind of a lot of other DJs use as standard. So talk a little bit about that as an option for couples too.
Well, we actually have several different uplighting systems, to be quite honest, probably because we have so many guys. Trying to find, I think Blizzard is probably one of our favorite lights to use. I couldn't tell you. I don't know. Maybe we should own stock in Blizzard at this point. I don't know how many Blizzard lights we own, but I mean, it's a lot. I've actually thought, why decorate for Christmas? Just line those guys up
Right.
around the house. I mean, you'd be able to see us from like NASA up in space. But I usually explain, because a lot of times people say, what is uplighting?
Mm-hmm.
Literally what it sounds like. Lighting from the ground up, to the ceiling, can give a different aesthetic to the room. I kind of go into, do you feel like your venue needs it?
Right.
I feel like uplighting can be one of those things. Typically, if I have a bride that calls me about uplighting and they know they want it,
Right.
I'm not going to try to talk them out of it.
Right.
But there are some venues that they don't need uplighting. And if couples are kind of on the fence, I like to be really transparent about that. Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to have this. I mean, by all means, if you are in love with uplighting, please do. I know Jared just went down to 716 down in Humboldt. I believe I'd have to look at the post again to double check that was the name. Sorry. I should have looked at that before I said it. But he actually brought some uplighting to show the couple in real time. Hey, this is what it does. These, the cool thing with uplighting is you can make it any color you want to.
Right.
So you can really personalize it to each individual wedding. A lot of times I look more of the uplighting as, are you in a community center?
Mhm.
That might need a little extra love on decorating if the couple doesn't want to, hang things from the ceilings, things like that.
It can tie the room together.
It really can.
When I talk to couples about it, first thing I ask them is, well, where's the dance floor? Because if we are on one end of the room,
Mm-hmm.
uplighting looks really great on the other end of the room because it kind of ties the room together.
Exactly. Yep.
I'm the same way. I am like the worst salesperson for uplighting. It's
Right.
it is a really pretty addition. So let me say that for the record. Uplighting is a really pretty addition for the wedding.
Yes.
What I tell brides is, here's the deal. I have done thousands of weddings. And in all of my weddings, I have never had a guest say, wow, this was a lot of fun. I just wish they had uplights.
Right.
So it's kind of my anti-uplighting pitch.
It's like, yeah. But at the same time, I tell couples, I mean, if they call me and they're like, I have to have uplighting.
Oh, yeah.
I am not going to talk them out of it. From that point on, I just say, well, what are you looking to have uplit? For us, a lot of times it's the head table if they don't already have, something figured out for that. Most people anymore, I feel like they already have what they want their backdrop of their head table to look like.
Right.
And they already have a light show kind of going on there. It's more just, the white lights that they put behind it to highlight whatever their decorations is. But yeah, the uplighting in a room can totally change the feel.
Oh, it does.
I mean,
it really brings the room together. It brings it,
really does.
alive throughout the entire room. So if you're really looking for that effect where, you already are bringing lights for the dance floor. I mean, I'm
Right.
assuming that's standard in all of your
Yes.
packages.
Sometimes it's so standard that I forget to tell couples that it's
But there's DJs out there now that are charging
Right.
extra to bring dance floor lights.
I mean, that would make for a really sad dance.
Or charging. There was one. I won't mention where he's from. It's in Iowa. But they're charging extra to allow the couple to use microphones. It's an extra charge if you want to use our mics. You already have the microphones.
Right.
Why are you charging for that?
Right.
It's like, things to look for if you're looking for a DJ. Here's one of the obvious ones. Can we use your microphones? And if they say no, find another DJ. I don't care how much. I don't care if it's free. You're overpaying.
And that actually kind of brings me into things that when I talk to a couple, and sometimes when I talk to a couple, I I know that we are higher priced than what they're looking to spend. But they're just getting quotes. They're just trying to talk, find out who's out there, what are my options. I'm going to compare companies after I get off the phone with everyone. And I always tell them the same thing. Whether or not you go with us as your company, that is 100% up to you. The important part is that you are comfortable in your decision that you're making.
Right.
So one of the things that I highlight on, because it is my biggest pet peeve ever, is, have you ever seen those posts on Facebook? Help, I can't get a hold of my vendor.
Yep.
I hate that post.
My DJ ghosted me. My photographer won't return my calls. Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's not that I hate the fact that people are posting them. I hate the fact that they even have to
That
post
they're dealing with that kind of stress.
because it's not, and a lot of times I do that too. I tell people, hey, however they got a hold of us, whether it be email, phone call, Facebook. I don't use Twitter. I guess I don't know if people get a hold of people. Clearly I don't use Twitter. But
They can just reach out to you through the platform.
oh, for sure.
OurStressFreeWedding.com. We've got our own messaging system built into it. So if you find them through there, they can message you through that. See?
And I happen to have on hand all the time
There you go.
this attached to my hip.
So even if they aren't logged in, like if Katie isn't logged into the platform, she gets an email that says, hey, you've got a message in your messenger system, and you can log right in, and you can get that question answered right away.
Which is
And
what I like.
absolutely.
I am a immediate answer kind of girl, because I know when brides are looking for something to do with their wedding, even if it's they've already booked us and they have a question down the road, my response time is very important to these people. Because when they're in the midst of planning their wedding, they're planning it.
Well,
It's not, oh, I want to wait 2 weeks from now to get an answer for something that I had in my head then. That moment's passed. So I always tell people, we are very accessible to our couples. However works out good for you guys to get a hold of us works out good for us. I make it happen.
And do you guys do like different package levels, like timing, or how do you do like when someone books you? How do you put that together with them?
So we do, again, finding out if they want ceremony and reception service. That's kind of like the defining factor of the time frame, I guess. I mean, if they say, hey, yeah, we need you for the ceremony, we arrive a few hours prior to when you're expecting guests to start arriving, and then we DJ up until midnight. If they don't need us for the ceremony, we still base our start time off of their ceremony start time. So typically, kind of where it comes more into play is a Catholic wedding. Those things start earlier. Most people that have been to a Catholic wedding, they know there's going to be a longer time between the ceremony and the reception. But I also do tell couples, fully expect whether or not you put 5 p.m. on your invitation list, they're going to show up beforehand.
Uncle Bob and Aunt Ina are going to be there at 3:45.
Exactly, because they might have come from another state and they don't have anywhere else to go.
Right.
So we base our start time off of the couple start time, and that varies for every single couple. Our end time of midnight really is based on the venue. Some venues,
very few venues will go past midnight.
Right. We did have a couple venues when they were first starting out that they were unlimited. And I knew that wasn't going to last very long just because nothing good happens after midnight.
You do the occasion, like my favorite one is like, at a family farm, they do the machine shed, or
for sure.
They get a big tent or something like that. I remember one of my DJs, it was his first year, Timmy,
Yeah.
his first year, and he's worked for me for about 14 years, I think. And so he was supposed to be done at midnight. So I was waiting for him to let me know when he got back.
Right.
So at 1 o'clock, I sent him a text. I'm like, where the hell are you? And he texted me back. He's like, still going. I'm like, okay, cool. Congratulations on the overtime. And at 2 o'clock, he sends me another text. Still going. 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were all camping, they're all hanging out.
Oh, right.
This party just went. Like they're playing till they're out of booze. So really, what it comes down to is that you're there to work with the couple on their schedule. You're not dictating to them. We will be there at 8 o'clock. We are done at midnight. That is all you get. You are going to work with their schedule to customize what they're looking for.
And along the lines of that, a lot of times when I get a phone call, sometimes I get the vibe that they only think the DJ is in charge of the dance.
Right. Oh,
Which
lot.
is a huge misconception because, like we talked about earlier, we're basically the coordinators. I mean, when I do have someone that says, hey, we just need you from, 7 to 11 for the dance.
Okay.
Who's going to introduce your wedding, your wedding party? Who is going to provide microphones for your speeches? Who is going to provide microphone for a blessing or a prayer before dinner?
Dinner music.
Dinner music, yeah, exactly.
I always recommend, the best time for your DJ to start is when your scheduled guest arrival time, not wedding party arrival time.
No,
guest arrival time. That means that your DJ will be there before that to get everything set up and ready to go. So that first time that guest takes their first step in, there's nice music playing, and it eliminates all the pressure off the wedding party. Because now, like if you have a hard time, if you plan your DJ start time based on the wedding party arrival time. And some brides make that mistake where, wedding party's arriving at 6, so let's have you start at 6. Okay, but if you're there, if you're running ahead of schedule, couple, and you get there at 5:15, 5:30, now there's a 30, 45-minute gray area where you run the potential of a frustrated bride, and the last thing any of us ever wants is a frustrated bride.
Right.
So by having us, having your DJ start when the guests arrive, now that stress is off your shoulders. Now, if you're on the party bus or you're doing pictures, you're in a, whatever you're doing with the wedding party, you can take the time and enjoy it. So you don't have to worry about, we need to be back because the grand entrance is exactly at 5 o'clock.
Right.
No, 5-ish is a much easier, stressless way to go about that.
I was going to say, what time does the wedding party arrive is a pretty gray area anyway, just because, sometimes photos take longer than you thought, or you saw one more bar you wanted to stop at, or you can't find the best man.
Happen. And one of the other really cool things about the platform is if you book your photographer, your party bus, your caterer, your venue, your DJ, if any of them come from Our Stress Free, all of us can communicate with each other within that. So if the wedding party's out on the party bus is part of Our Stress Free Wedding, they can jump onto the messaging system, send a message to the DJ and say, hey, we're leaving the last bar now. So now the couple doesn't have to worry about that. The party bus is going to take care of it. And that's always the biggest kind of gray area is when is the wedding party arriving? So now you, as the DJ, can let the caterers know, okay, now it's safe to get the food out. You can let the videographers know or the photographers know or whoever is still on site at the venue, hey, they're 10 minutes out. It's a magic fix to all of that and takes all that responsibility off the couple's shoulders, which makes things so much better for everybody.
Which I think is one of the coolest features is not only is it a great place for couples to find vendors, but it's also a great place for vendors to communicate with each other.
100%.
And where was that forever ago?
I was trying. I know. Forever ago. I'm a little slow. But one of the neat things, and we were talking about this last show too, is we've added almost another depth in our process of finding new wedding pros. Is now we have enough on the platform where I can reach out to you, for example, in a part of Iowa that I don't live in, and say, hey, I've got this photographer, this venue, or whoever it is in your market. What do you know about them?
Right.
And since I already know how good of a job Mojo Productions does, your opinion carries a lot of weight. So by reaching out to now other professionals on the platform, we've really created another depth or almost another safety level of quality check for other wedding professionals that want to come on. If Bob's Photography, I keep picking on the name Bob. I'm sorry to all the Bobs out there. I've got a very good friend named Bob.
Bob's Photography is going to be suing here pretty soon.
I'm going to get a phone call from Bob's lawyer.
Or it's free marketing for them.
Right. But I can find out, and you can be like, "Ooh, no! Last time Bob got drunk and peed in the punch. That would be a bad thing." So
correct things that you don't want at your wedding.
That wasn't on their Facebook review. So
and I've had that too. I've had several phone calls in the last couple weeks where they know they want Mojo, and this is obviously directly in our area. They have a specific venue that they're working with. There's a specific photographer that they're working with. And my immediate results are, you have a well-oiled wedding machine right there.
Yeah.
Just with the vendors that you have listed off, I already know your night's going to go off without a hitch.
You got nothing to worry about.
Right. You have excellent people taking care of you. And that's one of the things that I think should be highlighted with couples is, you're not just looking for someone to play music at your wedding. You're looking for someone to make sure that everything goes off without a hitch.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's one of the things that we're kind of evolving into, almost like a catchphrase or something. Yeah, but a lot of us in the industry have our preferred professionals that we everybody in the bottom corner of everybody's website is here's the people that
Right.
our referral list.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're kind of doing with our Stress Free is we're building that referral list from all of these other professionals and putting it in one place.
Right.
So it makes things better. If you're looking in a particular market, if you're looking, around your kind of home territory, you're going to find other professionals that you've recommended to us. I mean, there's what's the taxi service? They just came on with us. Oh my gosh, name is blanking. Anyway,
The party taxi?
Yes, Party Taxi. Yep.
Forgive me, guys. I'm sorry.
They're going to be joining us here, I think this week. We got their account set up last week. We're going to be working on their page, I think this week, or if not, beginning of next.
I immediately reached out to them because that is one thing. Because we get phone calls all the
Was it
time. Of,
Kylie, right? And then-
who do you recommend? For party buses are hard to come by.
Mhm.
They really are. And these guys have been really great to work with. They're located. I mean, I don't know that there's really anywhere that they won't go.
Mhm.
I shouldn't say that because I don't know what their distance is.
But the point is coming from you as a referral, bringing them to
Mhm.
our attention just elevates them to a better level
right,
across the board.
right,
Because now we know they are peer reviewed. I guess there's the term I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's a peer reviewed system that we're building more and more. So as you as the couple coming in again starting at zero, now you know that everyone that you're finding at ourstressfreewedding.com has been peer reviewed by the rest of us in the industry,
Mhm.
knowing that we all kind of play well together, knowing that we all have the same goal in mind is
Right.
going to make that couple's day that much of a better experience.
exactly. And I mean, if you think about it, every couple that goes to our stress-free wedding, they're going to know one of the vendors.
Right.
So when they see that, hey, I know these guys. Well, they work with these guys. Well, that's pretty cool. I feel like this is like a safety spot.
Yep.
This is where we can find the people that we can trust and just kind of go from there.
That's
so
one of the things that we're going to be building into. And
Mhm.
my programming team hates me because I email them daily with new ideas. But one of the things we're going to be building into is kind of having that connection on every vendor page. So
mhm.
professionals that you work with on a regular basis will be part of your listing, and then you will be
Right.
part of their listings as well. So if they find you and they go down to the bottom of your page, they're going to see the different professionals that you work with now.
Right.
And if they're part, since they're already part of the platform, they can just quick kind of jump to each vendor that they're looking for and really plan everything out all right there if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming. And if any of my programmers are
No
watching
pressure.
it, I haven't emailed them that one yet. So my salesperson's already thinking that's $15,000 of updates already. I'm going to buy a new boat because of Sean. So.
Fair warning.
Hey, you are watching the ourstressfreewedding.com show / podcast. If you like what you hear so far and you want to learn more and you want to keep up to date, what should they do, Andrew?
Like and subscribe.
I'm going to get you a shirt that just says that.
Just
He's the like and subscribe guy.
like this.
I love it. Let's, so we've been talking all the technical stuff and work stuff. Let's talk about fun stuff. Let's talk about what's your favorite moment at a wedding?
My favorite moment at a wedding is also the most intimidating part of the night for me.
Oh,
Me personally. I feel like if I ever get super comfortable in this portion of the night, then I've lost my edge and I should probably stop DJing.
okay.
Okay? This is deep.
All right.
Grand introduction.
That I get same thing from my staff. I get from a lot of, especially the newbies. They're terrified of
Oh my God.
grand entrance.
Mhm.
So what's the most intimidating, and why do you feel that?
I think that the most intimidating part is that everyone's actually listening to me. I mean, for the rest of the night, I'm talking, but, there's half the people, they're drinking, they're having conversation, and, you have your group of people that are really paying attention, but the grand introduction, they are paying attention.
They're focused on that moment.
And when I first started, now I have gotten better, but I always had to laugh because I had this huge wedding party, and I was like, oh my God, I better not mispronounce names. I have this foolproof way of doing things. You just evolve over time. But I had the pastor standing next to me because he was going to give a blessing right after. And I actually had a migraine that day.
Oh.
It was probably my favorite wedding story. Had a killer migraine. I took some ibuprofen, got the wedding party ready to go. I wailed on that microphone because that is the defining moment of a wedding to me, is the grand introduction. That is we are going to have fun. We are going to break the ceremony ice. Now we're into the fun part of the night.
It is. It's the transition. You know,
It is.
it's from
It really is.
everyone's formal and everyone's all nice. You know, now they can come in with the goofy sunglasses and do
fun.
shots, and
Yeah.
it's a part. Yeah.
But the whole time, now the pastor standing next to me knew that I had a migraine, and I was working on it. It clearly did not affect my job whatsoever, because I was like, nope, this is happening, and it's happening right now. Nobody cares that I have a migraine.
Right.
It's like Jordan in the flu game right
Right.
here.
But when I was doing it, my hands were shaking, because it almost happens every time I do a grand introduction.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the defining moment for me. Maybe it's because I put so much pressure on myself that I get so like, this has to go off without a hitch. To me, that makes or breaks the whole night for myself personally. But after I got done, he looked at me and he said, well, that didn't stop you at all, did it? And I was like, not at all. And he's like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm great. And he's like, your hands are shaking. I'm like, they always shake. Once that grand introduction is done, it's like ice is broken on my side of things. You know, we just get to have fun for the rest of the night. So
Right.
that's grand introduction is totally my favorite part of the night.
I like that. I think that's very
Yeah.
and it does. It sets the tone, you know, and especially now, like coming in, you know, in this time, we have so many COVID couples that are finally able to celebrate their
Right.
reception. You know, they got married over COVID, but they couldn't have the party. And everyone that I just talked to a bride today, they've been married a year and a half already. You know, they got married right at the end of 2020. So, you know, they're finally having their reception.
Right.
And what I told that bride today is, you know, here's just something to put in the back of your mind, you know, not to take anything away from your anniversary date, which is obviously huge, but let's treat this Saturday like you just got married.
Right.
You know, let's because you absolutely deserve as a couple to celebrate, you know, with friends, with family, to have that moment. And that grand entrance is, you're 100% right, is huge. It's key because it's finally that moment where you get, you know, everybody's name. You know, you've had all of these big serious moments, and you've had all the formal pictures, and you've had all the, you know, everybody stood in the right place for the ceremony, and everybody said the right thing for what they're supposed to say. Now you can finally have some fun and enjoy yourselves.
Exactly.
And that is such a huge part of it. You're absolutely right.
And I think for the wedding party, it kind of breaks the ice for them too, because some of them, you know, maid of honor and best man, in the back of their head, they're like, I have to talk soon.
Right. The speech.
The speech. So I feel like that kind of breaks the ice for the couple too. But I always tell them, we're going to bring you in like your superstars, because you are.
Yeah.
So it is my favorite, but it's also, like I said, my personal most terrifying moment of the night, just because I think I build it up so much in my own head that I'm like, this is the part right
But it
here.
makes you better focused on that.
Right. Which is why I said, if I
Yeah.
ever feel like I don't have that feeling, then I probably shouldn't be doing it anymore.
I think that's
So as long
awesome.
as my hands are shaking behind the DJ booth, which no one ever sees anyway, so I probably shouldn't have even said it. But yeah, I feel like that I haven't lost my edge.
No, I think that's awesome.
Which just reminds you that we're all very human, right?
No, yeah. We screw up. You're just not supposed to see it. And
We hide it well.
we hide it well.
We play it off.
You know, we talked a lot about what you guys offer and what you do and how you take care of your couples, and, you know, kind of walking with them through the planning process, really kind of taking them from zero to I do.
Right.
You know, and being there for them through everything. So the question that I ask everybody kind of at the end here is, so here's a scenario. You are booked up. There's a couple that wants you. You know, they want to book you. And let's make it even more personal, because you've said, you know, you've had couples that really, really, really want you.
Right.
You know, you have built up enough of a reputation, which is awesome. But you're booked. You can't help them. Mojo Productions cannot help this couple on this date.
Right.
What do you tell them to look for in other DJs?
Well, after we share a beer and cry about it. No, just kidding.
We have a counseling system set up.
Right.
Sorry you can't have Mojo Productions.
I send them off to my favorite therapist.
You have a list?
We not really. The biggest thing that I always tell people if we are not available is, number one, make sure you have the feeling. I say to the bride, and I don't know.
The feeling. So explain that.
The feeling of, this is how I explain it. You know when you put your wedding dress on and you know that's the one?
No, but I'm going to go with sure.
Pretend you're the bride.
How
I
many
totally know
how many dresses have you tried on, Sean?
Right. That
when
could
I
go
needed
into a
rent
different-
money or
But when they have that feeling that they know this is
yes,
the dress,
yes. I get that. Absolutely.
have that same feeling in your gut, because your gut will tell you everything you need to know about the DJ, about any of the wedding professionals.
Yeah.
I tell them, when you have a conversation with them, after, even if we are booked, I still walk through the process with them. Just so you know, this is what we offer. This is what we do for couples. This is, how we walk through the planning process with them. When you talk to another DJ company, how accessible are they? Did you have to call them 14 times before they responded? Did you have to email them and then they called you back after a week?
If you've got to stalk anyone that you want for your wedding,
Correct.
they're not the right people for your wedding.
Right.
I'll just tell you that right
Right.
now. Any excuse they get, oh, I had the flu. Really? You dog ate your homework. Okay.
Now, I will say that, again, I probably hold crazy high standards, but the Facebook page, your business page, where I don't know if it still does it, where it used to time your response time. So Jared and I had this competition of how fast could we respond to those. So our response time was less than a minute.
Nice.
And it took I don't know, Facebook was down one day and it took 20 minutes to respond to a message. And I was like, oh my God, I am so sorry for the slow response. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, to me, that was a really slow response. But I think that that's the biggest thing. And I tell them, when you talk to a company, ask them, how am I supposed to get a hold of you? How many times can I get a hold of you? I tell couples all the time, we don't have business hours.
Right.
I mean, we don't. I mean, my office literally is in my vehicle, and I tell my couples that all the time. If you call me and you have a question, I'm going to have the answer for you. If I don't, I will within, 3 hours if I'm away from my main stuff.
Right.
But for the most part, I probably have just about everything I need to know memorized in my head.
Right.
But I tell them, don't hesitate if you have questions, because when you're planning your wedding, and I know I said this before, you're in that moment. In your head, you're ready to plan this part of your day, and you're not wanting to wait for people to get back in touch with you.
Right.
You want to plan that in the moment. So I do have a lot of couples that, they'll send me a text message. Hey, was looking for this. What do you think? Or instead of the dollar dance, we're looking for something different. What do you guys have suggestions on? And I will do it in that moment. So I kind of pass my standards on to the next person. This is what I would do to take good care of you. Just make sure that you ask those questions, and I do tell them, for the things that we provide in our services, the lighting for the dance floor, microphones, which I didn't know.
Yeah, right.
Things that you learn all the time, I
learned
guess.
another one where they charge for announcements. There's a DJ company out there that charges extra if you want them to announce the grand entrance, if you want them to announce first dances. I want to find this guy and actually send him a thank you note for being so damn dumb. Thank you for sending us business, because you are too dumb to be doing this, but keep doing what you're doing.
There's things out there, I guess, to me, that it's obvious that it's our
should be.
job.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's why. If you just want someone to show up and play music, save a ton of money, hit play on Spotify.
Right.
No one's going to dance. It's not going to work. But, I mean, come on.
And those are the things that I do say to them. Ask them their time frame. How long are they there for? What do they provide? Do they like song lists from couples? For us, not only do I like to know what kind of music genres, things like that they enjoy, I also like to know what they don't like.
Right.
Because that's huge.
Oh, our do not playlist is an incredibly popular section.
For sure. And it's brilliant, because people are like, oh, well, I definitely don't want certain songs played, and this works out really great because then it gives us a heads up, because if someone comes up unknowingly, and it's not like a breakup song, that you obviously wouldn't play, but it's a song that touches that couple in a way that they don't want that at their wedding.
Right.
That's good for us to know.
Right.
That's kind of like along the lines of going out and talking to the crowd. Sometimes I find out family traditions that the couple never told me about, and then you just incorporate that whole thing into the night. But as far as, if we were booked, finding other vendors, obviously we are happy to say, hey, make sure you call these guys, see if they're open. I can't promise what their openings are, but we personally try to send them to people that we trust. But again, if they have talked to like 3 other companies and they just know we're booked, I still give them that advice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it shows how much you care.
Right.
And it does. That's one of the main things, is that you want them to have a successful day.
Right.
And of course, the easiest thing now that she's part of Our Stress Free Weddings, you can just say, well, just go to ourstressfreewedding.com, and any of the other DJs on there, they will take good care of you.
Exactly.
I know this. That is
Exactly.
awesome. Mojo Productions is absolutely amazing. This has been an incredible conversation. I seriously, that's why I've got a timer on it, because we probably could talk till sundown.
True story.
This would be very easy to do. They're out of Britt, Iowa. You can find them, of course, at ourstressfreewedding.com. From there, you can go to their social media. You can go to their website. You can see everything there. It's all very, very simple. Their Facebook page is going to blow you away, because you have, 20,000 fans on your Facebook page? I mean, you're darn near, not quite Taylor Swift level, but... just who would be like Lou Bega? I'll bet you, from Mambo
Bega.
Number 5, Lou Bega. I'll
I
bet you
love that
he's.
song.
Do you play it, because it's back?
Is it?
I've been playing it.
Me too.
Like-
It blew my first time somebody requested, like 2 years ago. Somebody requested, or 2019, because 2020 doesn't exist. 2019, somebody came up and requested that song, and I laughed, because I kind of chuckled. I'm like, oh, come on. Are you sure?
Sure.
I mean, last time I played that, I was, 20 years old and in college. And he's like, no, dude, seriously, it's going to kill. And I'm like, okay, here's my rule. If you request a song and it dies, you're dancing.
Right.
That's my rule. If you request a song and you kill my dance floor, you're dancing.
You're taking over.
That's how it's going to be. And this guy's like, dude, got it. No problem. And I played the song, and I kind of did the hesitant, play the song. Bam! Packed dance floor.
I like that.
And of course, here's the guy in the middle of the dance floor looking at me going, told you! Like, you're hired.
But on the bright side, you'd rather have it be that direction than the crowd.
So much better than,
first.
you want to Tammy Wynette's DIVORCE? What? No,
Right.
We're not going to do that. No.
I love it because there's clapping in the beginning of it, and when the song starts clapping, people on the dance floor start clapping too. Like, I don't know where it's coming from, but I want to join in, and then
Right.
that '90s swing, it's great.
It's an awesome song.
It really is.
I'm happy to have it back. I really am.
I'm glad that the 90s are coming back.
Oh, me too. Ask any DJ. Early '90s hip hop, everybody's jam. That's one of the funny things. We're just gonna keep going. One of the great things I love about weddings is that everybody loves to dance to. It's the classics, it's early '90s hip hop, early 2000s pop, and then you get your classics, like one of my favorite songs to use at the beginning of the night is "Pretty Woman" by Roy Orbison.
Oh yeah.
And now talking to brides now, that song is easily 3 times their age.
True.
And yet they all know it. I have never, in 34 years of doing this for a living, I have never met anybody who doesn't know the song. Now, they might not know the title. I've had that. But if I say, pretty woman walking down, and they're like, oh my God, I know that song.
Right.
34 years, I've never met anybody who doesn't know that song. And that's one of the really cool things. I call them multi-generational songs.
Right.
And it's the same song. Like, my youngest son knows that song as well as my mommy, and my mommy is old enough to remember when Roy Orbison, the guy that sang it, was the new guy on the radio.
Right.
That's 3 generations of people. And my youngest is now old enough to, hopefully a few years down the road, have kids, but they're going to know that one too. It's just one of those songs.
Right.
And Twist and Shout by the Beatles, Moni Moni, Billy Idol. I mean, there's so many of those generational songs that work, and you can now kind of factor in Backstreet Boys and the early 2000s pop and all of that stuff. I love because you can have a packed dance floor all night and maybe hit 2 brand new chart songs.
Right.
You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, I mean, and you can go all over the place with genre. There's so many great songs out there, but you can hit the older crowd at the same time that you're hitting the younger crowd because it's cool again.
Right.
Which makes me happy because I was feeling old there till the 90s came back.
I remember the first time I felt old at a wedding. Someone came up and requested oldies. And my first thought was, Beatles,
Right.
Chubby Checker,
Yeah.
and Beach Boys, stuff like that. She meant Love Shack by B-52s. And I'm like, oh, that's not oldies. But that song was out 2 years before she was born.
Right.
That's oldies.
Right.
I'm like, oh, man. I should just go home and go to bed. I'm tired. My feet hurt.
They're starting to refer to our generation as, they were born in the late 1900s. And it's like, wow.
Oh, God.
Well, my wife, God bless her, she's 9 years younger than I am, and she loves to point out that when I was born, she found out that our TV at our house, like when I was first born, was black and white. Now, I'm too young to remember that, for the record.
Right. But it was there.
We had a black and white TV when I was born. Color was a new thing.
New thing. Wasn't in all the houses yet.
No. And we only had one. Can you imagine? And 3 channels. That was it. That's all you got. You've been fun. It's been great talking with you.
I've enjoyed this very much. I do think that anytime you get DJs talking, it can go on for a really long time.
Oh, gosh, yes.
I mean, we're social butterflies by nature, which we should be, which is another thing I would like to point out. You should have a social butterfly DJ at your wedding because you don't want someone that's going to read a book while everything is happening.
Right.
You want to have someone who's interactive with the crowd. I'm actually training up a new assistant. I thought I was not old enough to need an assistant, but it turns out I really enjoy her. She went out to get some song requests, and one of the bridesmaids on Saturday requested a song, and she came back up and she told me, and I was like, it was one of those, is it this artist or this artist? Because it's like same song title, but totally different generation. And she's like, well, gosh, I don't know. I was playing the Macarena.
Another one that won't go away.
Right?
Yep.
I know. And she's like, oh, she's out on the dance floor. I'll go ask her. Okay, cool. So she goes out there, and this is like her third wedding that she's done with me. And she starts doing the dance.
Oh, if you step on the dance floor, you're drawn in. You can't.
Right.
You can't not.
And she's having a full-on conversation while she's doing the moves. And I was like, this girl was meant to be in the business. This is good
I
stuff.
just pictured the conversation.
Right.
So, are you having a good night? Me too. Yeah, that's cool. What song you want to hear next?
Right. I just thought, well, this is gold right here. I'll remember this moment. So a few years down the road when she's out on her own, I know she'll do a good job for us.
That is so awesome. Seriously, it's so awesome. Oh man. Well, anything else? I mean, is there anything that we missed? I know you came with notes. She came with an agenda.
Well, I wasn't sure the questions that you were going to ask me today, so
total hard-hitting, gotcha questions here.
Right, yeah. It was all stuff that was very natural, so it worked out really well. I mean, I even made sure to write down, I had to write down how many employees we have because it's in my calendar because when I get a phone call, I have to,
right.
My memory is cool, but it's apparently not that cool. I actually have to go down the list of who's booked and who's not. And I'm like, what if he asks how many DJs that we have, which we obviously hit up on that. I actually just refigured out how many events we have for this year. In case that was asked.
And how many?
Okay, I mean, I have to
come
say
on,
now.
brag moment. How many got?
I would like to say that this will be our biggest year in a while, thanks to the last few years.
2020 doesn't count, doesn't exist.
It doesn't.
Didn't happen.
Which, if it hadn't happened the way it did, that would have been our biggest year. But this year, we have 340 events.
Awesome.
And 231 of those are weddings.
That is outstanding.
So I think that's. I mean, for us, it's super fun. I know all of our guys are like ready to get out. We've done a couple weddings in the wintertime. I mean, you guys are probably the same way. Wedding season is not a thing.
Just ramping up. No, it slows down a little bit. You have a little dip. But then,
I mean, it just goes year round, which is super cool. But we are all very excited to really get into hard-hitting wedding season.
Well, you saw some of our new toys. You know, we upgraded our speakers.
I have an empty Suburban, remember?
Yeah,
so
I
those
know.
might go missing.
I am so seriously. I was trying to explain to my wife about the new speaker system we're switching to, and I just love the fact that we no longer have to lug 77-pound monsters that hang up in the air. That
Oh my gosh.
I am honest, and thank you God for the fact that in 30 years not one has fallen and squished a child. But it's a fear I have had literally every Saturday since it's been not just me.
Right.
Is that I'm getting a phone call and, well, sorry, Uncle Bob was squished. It's Bob.
Poor Bob.
I'm sorry, Bob. So
Bob can't do his photography business anymore.
or Laurel or legal. So many new toys. I love it. But it's exciting. And it's kind of neat actually in the wedding business talking to other wedding professionals. It's like this year finally.
Right.
This year it's almost a bigger celebration. And I've noticed too, speaking with couples whose weddings are coming up, have you noticed this? They're a lot more chill.
Yes.
It's like they're happy. COVID is, knock on wood, done, at least mostly done, or it's not terrifying. And they just want to celebrate. They just want to have a good time.
Yes.
So even I remember one of the weddings I did last year, and this couple had rescheduled 3 or 4 times. I mean, they were a COVID couple. They originally had booked in like March of 20.
Right.
Nope. Then they
Right.
tried June of 20. Nope. September of 20. Nope. So finally we get to the 4th one. And, we had pages of all of these things planned out and all of the
Right.
speeches and special dances and all these special moments. The bride came up to me and she used a slightly more colorful term than I'm going to use now, but she said, I basically want to dance my off and I just want to be upped for the rest of the night, like drink herself silly. Let's just go silly, drink herself silly. And those are the only 2 things I want for my wedding.
Rightfully
and I
so.
said, yes, ma'am. And that's the way her night went. She danced her little behind off and happily drank herself to oblivion.
That is, I show great respect to our couples who went through.
I think we should all collectively, as wedding pros, we should have a plaque that we need to give to all of our COVID couples.
Thank you for.
Thank you for surviving.
Right. I mean, think of the couples that are planning their weddings right now that they held off for a couple years because they
Right.
decided, I just want to see what's going to happen. And they're stressed out about planning their wedding. We have some couples that have planned their wedding 4 times.
I know. Yeah.
And it's like, that level of stress,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything I could do to even help that. I mean, I try to be very, very helpful, whether it be walking through someone the best way to talk to their maid of honor about something that they need. I mean, I feel like as a female, I probably get more personal phone calls sometimes.
Oh, we didn't get it. We didn't even get into how I love female DJs for weddings because you guys have such a different perspective than
Right.
as guys than
And
we do.
it's nothing. I tell a lot of couples, I could talk for days about weddings because I'm just a girl who likes weddings. I mean, I think that's huge for me because it gives me a little different connection with the couples. And even if I'm not their DJ, like I said, I talk to every one of our couples. You guys should create a page that's our stress-free wedding vendors, because then people who are in charge of so many events can go somewhere to relax.
We need a stress-free
Like
page for the
like a
for the
spa.
stress-free people.
You need like a building, like a spa, or
We are going to be renting the office next to us. Maybe we need to have a little fun zone.
Yeah,
Just-
because I think like now I am really good at 231 weddings is probably the biggest year we've had in a while.
Yeah.
I mean 200 previous to the last couple years was pretty normal for us. But I think having those lull years and going back into this is probably more of our normal. I'm very focused when it comes to doing all this stuff, but it's just kind of crazy, like the things that you're in charge of and the things that you're coordinating in the background. And I mean,
Stuff that the couple should really never even have to see or worry about.
right, exactly.
Yep.
And it's just things that you just do because you care. And it's nice. I know when I had my first conversation with you on the phone, I immediately was like, wow, this guy totally gets exactly where we're coming from, because like we're on the same line of thinking as far as that stuff goes. So I think it's really nice. Female DJ side of things, We have Alyssa that works for us. We were actually blessed to acquire her from another DJ company. She totally kills it. I mean, she does a great job. She handles everything and anything to do with her weddings personally. She is basically one of our owners. I mean, this is her full-time job. This is what she does for a living. And it's nice when I can tell people, hey, here's the list of the owner's phone numbers, and if you can't reach one of us, there was either a disaster that happened or, you know, the cell phone towers quit working, because there's no reason that you shouldn't be able to get a hold of one of us, and all three of us are very interchangeable with our information. So it's really nice. Plus, it's cool that we have another female DJ.
Awesome.
Because it's not very often that you see a lot
No,
of
it's
that.
rare. In fact, there was a lot of years where I was told specifically by a lot of brides, like especially like, you know, I would say pre 2017, 18. There was a lot of brides that specifically at that time said, I do not want a female DJ. And you starting at what you said, what, 2009 or 2008?
Ish.
Ish is my favorite wedding term. Ish is magic. I'm gonna write a book, Wedding Ish. Trust me, it's gonna sell.
I'll buy it.
Yeah, see, 2. My wife will buy 1. That's 3. Mom will probably buy 1. I'm bestseller. But you know, it's for the longest time, you know, female DJs was a rarity.
Right.
And kudos to you for succeeding and growing and evolving as much as you did. I mean, we didn't even get into your backstory of, you know, of how you got started, which is an awesome story by itself. And we're gonna have you back, because we need to have just a chatting time. I mean, aside from chatting now, but we need to have just another one. But you did bring up a good point. You know, with the number of weddings you guys are doing. We're in the same ballpark. You know, this year is a huge year, and almost any vendor you talk to, venues. I mean, if you look on, you know, any of the wedding places on Facebook, you look at Iowa vendors or anything like that, venues are all saying booked for 2022. You know, they don't have any openings, and here's why. If you are planning your wedding right now, keep in mind, 2020, almost all of those couples got pushed to 21. 21 means that they were pushing pretty much everybody who was looking at 21 to this year. Everybody who's planning their wedding right now in the early spring for fall, which usually about 9 months out is when people kind of start planning stuff, that's already being eaten up by 21 and people who were looking at 22 back in 21. So there is kind of this buildup, and it's going to take a few years for that to balance out. So if you are planning your wedding, if you're still kind of in that, well, maybe we should in October, maybe we should in September, I can tell you right now, like from Alto Entertainment, for us, I think out of all of our available systems in the month of October, I might have 2 systems left on one of those random Saturdays.
October's nuts.
Yeah, it's bigger than June.
Actually, now I'm a loser, and I actually have written down like
she's got stats.
I got I have
got
stats. And October is our busiest wedding month.
Yes, and it's pushing into like usually, you know, November you get that kind of starts to kind of wind down. November is right there.
I was just gonna say there is no wedding season. It's just gonna keep going.
But a lot of that is that push from the year that will not be named. So if you are planning your wedding and you're thinking, oh, I got plenty of time, you don't. And I don't want to put pressure on you, because that's kind of, you know, against what we're doing here. But, you know, the best advice I can give you is start planning now. If you're looking at 22,
oh, for sure, start now.
You know, lock in your I like your big 3, and that would be your venue, your photographer, and your DJ. Those are kind of the big 3. You know, and once you have them, then you can kind of build everything else around that. But it's crucial, especially if you have someone specific that you want for your day, or a venue that is specific that you want. Start looking, because they're booking up quick. And speaking of which, next show is going to be awesome. We have a venue as a guest next show. She's coming up to visit with us all the way from Homestead, right? Homestead, Iowa. It's Curlberry Farms.
Oh, yes.
Have you been there?
Oh, yes.
Have you seen their? No, I don't want to spoil it. They use animals for
I love that
one of
venue.
their little services. It is the coolest thing, and they've also got a service called Hops and Hot Rods. They're kind of motorheads, and they've got some classic cars and some classic trailers, and they have converted them into tappers for the outside part of the reception too. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm super excited. So that'll be next show, of course. As if you enjoyed this show, and thank you for staying all the way through this one, because
We warned them.
I think we set a record on that. We did warn them.
Yeah.
We did.
Now, just a side note, Jared's going to be at Coruberry Farms on May 20th.
There you go.
And he has not been there before, but I hope he doesn't like buy something and bring it home.
I already made the mistake of telling my wife that they have llamas.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this was last year or the year before. My wife's like, I think we should get a llama. I'm like, I think we should maybe not,
No.
because they're this tall.
Can
She's
they
like,
DJ?
yeah, no, and I don't think our homeowners association would allow it. So.
Right.
But they have llamas, they have horses, they have little piggies, they have all kinds of really cute critters, and they use them in super unique. Andrew, help me out here.
What they have, like ponies or donkeys that have beer kegs on them
Like
or something,
like little
and-
beer bottles, like on their saddles.
Yeah.
They're tame. They're great around people, and they just kind of wander around.
Right.
So they'll explain it better than we will. It's
Now, you know, I will be tuned in for that one. And I'll watch the other ones prior to, before then. But
There's homework. Yes.
I have homework today.
Watch the show if you have not seen this before. One of the great things about this, and this is really, I don't mind taking this kind of time, and thank you for watching if you've watched this whole thing. But this to me, this is so important because it's so much more than just talking pricing, talking packages, talking equipment. These are the speakers we use. Here's the kind of microphones we use. Nobody cares. There's not a single couple out. Well, there's a couple of them, but not too many of them care what kind of mixer you're using or what program you're using
Right.
or stuff like that. We're not going to tech talk this to death, because what really will help you make the decision in finding your right wedding expert is a conversation like this, by having Katie here and talk about not just what Mojo does and not just the reputation that you've built and not just your staff, but actually seeing your heart and your conviction to excellence for somebody's day. And that to me makes all the difference in the world, and it will absolutely make all the difference to your wedding by having the right people with your day. Right?
I agree 100%.
I love it. Hey, don't forget you can find us, obviously on YouTube if you caught us here. ultimateentertainment.cc. Just go to the podcast section there. Go to ourstressfreewedding.com. Go to ourstressfreewedding.com. Hey, you should go to ourstressfreewedding.com.
I was like, wait, didn't you just say that?
No. Say what? Ourstressfreewedding.com?
Ourstressfreewedding.com.
See? I've got Katie to say it. Absolutely. Go to the podcast there. We've also got a great blog system there. And we have tied in, and this is really neat. So my blog team is focusing more on our professionals. There's so many blogs that talk about colors and talk about styles and talk about trends, and that's all well and good. But if it's your wedding, make it your way. Don't worry about what some expert's talking about. So what my team is working on is talking about photographers, DJs, venues, caterers, and kind of what to look for in them, highlighting them. And then if you do a search at ourstressfreewedding.com, you go to the vendor page, find your professionals, click on that, and any relevant blog posts that happen to be about that particular subject will come up in the search, because we want you to be as absolutely informed as possible.
Right.
Same thing with the show. When the show premieres, you'll be able to watch it and share it. We're going to make sure that Katie shares it as well.
Always.
Yep. See, I have no doubt. 20,000 fans. She obviously is pretty good at the social media thing.
We actually have a really good social media gal for that.
I believe it. I need someone better than me, because I'm like a monkey with mittens just pushing
A
buttons.
monkey with mittens.
Like, sometimes it works.
Steph does a really good job for us, so we appreciate her very much. And I noticed when I try to do something cool, I'm like, oh no, Steph's not going to approve of that one. I try.
I need to find a Steph. They need to be named Bob, but I need to find a Steph. That's
Right.
Anything that we missed? Andrew, help me out.
No, I think we got.
Did we
we
get it
got a
all?
lot, and
We got a ton.
we're bringing her back too.
This is awesome. We got to practice editing. We got to do all kinds of stuff today. This is going to be great. I love it. Hey, what's the magic thing that we do?
Like and subscribe.
We like and subscribe. Follow the show, gang. And thank you again so much for watching. And you have a stress-free day.